All right, welcome. Today I'm going to show you some sponging. So I'm going to be using natural sea sponges. Here they are. There's a good and dirty one. Pretty clean, small ones. I even have smaller ones. You can find them at the art supply store or even something like Bed Bath & Beyond. You might get them cheaper. So here on my board, you'll see a variety of greens. These were all laid down with sponge. I do sponge in several ways. I think that you just can't put on a regular sponge like here. Where's the depth come from? But if we use a variety of colors, adding to the sponge in various layers, we get more depth. I'm going to show you another one, sponging. So we have very soft marks here, even softer here. You can barely even see the sponge marks just at the edge. And then here you can see it's nice and crisp. So that's various ways of using a sponge. And then I've showed glazing over the sponge to bring it all together. And here's the sponge mark with more than one color on it. So these are all the colors that I've used. This is rose and green. That's Aurelian. This is chrome green. This is Payne's gray and a purple. And this is an orange glaze over here, maybe for a warmer day. All right. So let's begin sponging. And because I said I like having more depth, I put a bad wash here. Then I'm going to show you my palette. I just want to name the colors I'm going to be using. Here we have some Hooker's green, a Sennelier Hooker's green, a Rembrandt sepia, yellow ochre. I don't know what happened to that one. And then May green. We have our phthalo green, and we have our cadmium yellow light. And then other things that I've reconstituted in jars. So if you're worrying about being able to clean your palette, this is the perfect way to clean a palette and use the paint. Now I'm just going to move this off to the side so I can reach it. I'm going to show you my palette, my water. So I'm dipping it in the clean one only. I'm going to put 2 in there. Maybe this nice dirty one I'll get wet from the other side so it doesn't get my clean water dirty. Or I could just put it in the clean water, the dirty water. All right, I'm going to put my palette right to the right. And then I'm going to take this, mostly get out the water, because this is going to be a very wet on wet technique. You're going to want your paint a little more. So here I've just loaded it with what flows into the tray. Gonna test it. Oh, that's kind of interesting. Maybe that paint is a little too thick, so I can go in, put a little more water in, and if I press, it's very wet now, it's dripping. If I press nice and hard, I'm just going to get some color on there that I can move around and begin to, so if you think about perspective and distance, atmospheric perspective puts things that are very light at a distance. So it could be light and foggy, and that's where we begin. So now on my prepared paper, you maybe can hear me mopping that sponge around. I put the green on the wrong side. All right, here we have my very bad wash with some blooms. Doesn't matter, we're going to just cover them up. And I'm going to show you this in several layers. Not too much of that Meridian in there. I'm going to press it down to begin with. If I really press it down, I'll get it very watery I can even pick up that excess water. I can then add a little dirty brown to it. And because it's so wet, it will all blend together. So we're doing a forest technique. All right, so now we're gonna just let this dry. All right, here we are. This one has dried now, as well as the one underneath. I'm gonna do more than one demo for you guys. So it has to be dry. Remember, no, just barely cool to the touch. So I'm gonna load up. And this time, I might use the area that's really a little hairier and press it down. You can see my marks are getting a little crisper. I might want to go over. I want to avoid doing something like this because then we have the rubber stamp effect that everyone almost is exactly the same. We want to say there's more to it than that. So one of the things I do is rotate, right? Even turn it around. There's different colors everywhere here. There we go. So some of it is crisper and some of it is not. I'm going to go over where it looked like a rubber stamp. Nice crisp mark there. All right. I did start some here at the bottom with browns. You could also put in your browns, your what might be looking like grass with some browns in it. So I'm just gonna go keep going, putting more on. So you can see with a lot of water, it's going to be more transparent, lighter in value, less distinct. So I'm going to set that one aside to dry. I'm going to do this in several portions. Then I'm going to go back with the same greens I just used on the previous one and put in. You can already see, so this had a background on it before, right? It's harder to see the marks I'm making. And you want to put out several colors because you either make up several greens or you put more than one thing on your palette so that you can get a nice variety. Maybe dip in, get more than one color on the sponge at any one time. And begin to pick out where it's going to be denser, where the trees, quote, in front are going to be. Maybe it's going to be this one. I might give it a little more attention. Right now, I might add a little more color to it. Now it's pretty wet. So I'm going to leave this one alone, but hopefully you're seeing this density come up. All right, there it is. Number 2. Okay, dry, not even cool to the touch. We've moved beyond that. Now we're going to do at least one more layer. So up here where it's nice and crisp edges, but not as crisp interiorly, I'm going to put more on there. I'm not pressing as hard. My paint is much thicker, stiffer, more pigment, less water. And that way I can get some beautiful beautiful crisp lines in here. And you can already see how that makes it that much better. We've got really some very nice depth here. I would continue this, and then at the very end I might add something like I did in here, where I put in some amount of, you know, stem, or what do we have it? We have trunk, so that, you know, it becomes really more tree, representative tree. Remember, you don't put your entire stump there. Don't put your entire trunk. You got to have it peeking in and out. I also want to show you some other ways that you could think about using this, not just for trees and distance and forest. I've got one here. What could that be? Could be hydrangeas. That one definitely is hydrangea-like in my book. And here's one I did a number of years ago as a demo for students. This is, and I have no idea what the name of that is, but it's seaweed. And you can see the various depth that I have created and crispness from this very softer background. All of this, except for the stem work in here, was done with a sponge. And here's another one. This one started off as sponge. It's a hydrangea, a yellow, pinky green hydrangea I had somewhere. And here's the very soft areas, right? And then I went in later and added the deep and dark and in between, sort of becomes negative painting. You can also do clouds with it. Here's, and I don't even know that you all can see this. It probably gets bleached out by the lights. But I did this while the other one was drying. I thought, well, you could even do clouds with it. Really, the sky's the limit. And anytime you learn something new, a trick or a technique, think about all the ways you can use it, not just the way the demo is. The demo just shows you how to do it. All right, thank you.